All right, welcome back to Keepin' the Comic here. We're going to be diving back into Wolverine Blood Hunt issue number 3. And man, they finally did it. They done turned Wolverine into a vampire. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm a little pissed off about it, but it kind of makes sense a little bit here. I'm going to let you be the judge of that. So let's get into it, right? So really quick, if we remember here at the very end of the last issue, Nightguard, aka Louise, and Wolverine were about to get ambushed by these Aqueous vampires. Let's just call them sea vampires for ease, right? So they were on their way to finding Maverick's cave, which is out in Santa Cruz. And just in case you forgot, Maverick is the one that is hunting down Wolverine and is also working with Alyssa to become the queen after the events of the main Blood Hunt storyline are concluded. So that's kind of the backstory here if you haven't checked it out before. Now, Wolverine and 90, they're on this small ass boat, right? That is surrounded by these sea vampires. But one by one or two by two, Wolverine is slicing and dicing and Nightguard is stabbing and blasting. And there's actually this like really cool ass shot, by the way, where one of the sea vampires is cut into 3 different pieces. Like you can see his head, you see his midsection and his legs, and they're just like sinking down in the water. And I gotta tell you, man, I was just laughing my behind off just looking at the scene here. So Wolverine at one point, like he finds himself in a rather compromising position, right? Like after one of the vamps cut the crap out of his shoulder, you can see like the blood and it's kind of bubbling up here. And then he gets on top of Wolverine, telling him, "I will suck every last drop of blood from your mutant body," which I'm not gonna lie to you here, sounds a little dirty for different reasons, but I'm just gonna leave it alone, right? I'm gonna leave it right there. So Wolverine, he takes this gun, which is very unconventional for Wolverine to take a gun, and then he fires it at him, right? And then the vampire catches on fire and he starts to go overboard, but right before he goes overboard, he like nicks the boat's engine, and then that gets caught on fire and the blow eventually just like explodes. But before that happens, Wolverine is like to Nightguard, "Put your helmet on because we're about to be like Michael Phelps and we're about to go swimming." Now, this is a perfect spot if you ask me for the sea vampires, because I mean, listen, it's the water, my guy. This is where they do their best dirty work. And Nightguard and Wolverine, now they're doing their best that they possibly could, right? There's blood everywhere. Now, let's be fair. They kind of whooping their ass. But I'm gonna be honest, at one point, I looked at Nightguard's gun and I see like this bright blue light on it. And I'm like, do you really want to be shooting that? You're just gonna attract more creatures that are underwater, like more dangerous creatures that are underwater. And then Wolverine makes this point. He's like, hey, if there's this blood in the water now, there's usually some other creatures that are here. There's some bigger fish that are around. And then out of nowhere, these sharks come in and they start to eat these sea vampires, which then gives Wolverine and 90 an opportunity to swim up out of there. So they finally get to this hideout cave where Maverick is, right? And now as they're walking through, Maverick and Alyssa see them on the camera. And Maverick starts talking to him. You know, that typical Maverick and Wolverine banter. "Oh, you just got past my maritime blockade." And Wolverine's like, "I don't know, Mav. Why don't you ask that chump slick floating outside?" And I'm like, bro, who says chump slick? Like, where did that, who says chum, period? Anyways, let's move on. So Maverick is telling them, "I told my people that you were the real deal. And in order to prove that, I had to send all these folks after you to show that you were worth it. Cause girl, you're worth it." Sorry, y'all. Those are my intrusive thoughts. Either way. So listen, remember the whole point of this thing, right, is that Maverick wants to get Wolverine on their side so that once this whole main Blood Hunt issue is done, that they can ascend to being the strongest vampires. Alyssa wants to be the queen of vampires. Maverick is supposed to be the king, but that's not necessarily kind of how things are going to end up working out here. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. So the conversation ends. Wolverine takes out the camera, right? And then as he's talking to 90, he recalls a convo that he just had with Maverick. Maverick had said to Wolverine, "You're all alone." And then it dawned on him, yo, Maverick can't see Nightguard, aka Louise, because she's a vampire. And on camera, vampires don't show up. So he had no idea that he's been kind of like rolling along with somebody, because Maverick had mentioned, "Hey, your guy Bannister is not able to help you out anymore. All your communication is shut down," because Bannister had helped him out with like the drone and, you know, blowing up the other vampires in the other scene here. He'd also given them the intel to let them go to the boats and eventually get to Santa Cruz. So Bannister's been helping him out. So that's all that, you know, Maverick is thinking that it's been helping him. He has no idea that Louise is around here that's been kind of traveling with him this entire time. So then these like mummy vampires with swords, they jump out after them, right? And I'm not sure if they're actually mummy vampires, but they look like mummies and they're vampires. So let's just call them mummy vampires, right? So they then, like, Louise blows up with a door, gets them into like close quarters. Wolverine and Nightguard kind of really start kind of mowing them down at that point, and they get what looks like all of them down. And then the match is over, and then all of a sudden, like, Wolverine then stabs himself with one of the swords right into the stomach. And I'm like, why is this dude doing this? This is also so dramatic. Like, why is he doing this? So then Nightguard asks the same question we're asking, right? Like, why would you do that? So then he explains it's to keep his healing factor busy, which leaves him vulnerable so that he can, to the vampire enzyme, right? So then he asks Louise, yo, can you turn me? So then Louise obliges with what they say is this long kiss. So then Maverick sees that he had stabbed himself in the stomach and then saw him disappear off the camera. So now they're like, Alyssa and Maverick is like, yo, did he just turn himself into a vampire? This kind of works in our favor, does it not? Like, he kind of did our dirty work for us. And then Maverick is just like, you know what? I'm gonna go handle this face to face. This is how it's gonna always end up anyways, that we're gonna go face to face. So then he goes, well, before he goes, he actually tells like Alyssa's like, nothing has changed, right? Because even though he turned into a vampire now, nothing has changed. And then Alyssa states, wrong, everything has changed, and we'll find out why in a second. So then Wolverine himself, he's feeling pretty damn good about himself right now. He's like, yo, I feel stronger. He's like, look at me, I got night vision, baby. I got night vision, right? And then he takes out like one more mummy vampire, which I'm just like, where was this mummy vampire hiding at? And then Wolverine gets shot with a 44 Magnum by who else? Maverick, who then shoots him a couple more times. And then Alyssa, she just like shortly follows after and says, like, it holds like Wolverine's face and kind of like caresses his beard. I'm just like, girl, get your damn hands off my Wolverine, right? But then she like caresses his face, and it's just like, I'm just a future queen seeking out her future king. So I'm like, hold on, did Maverick just get dumped? To the left, to the left. No, seriously, that's just basically what just happened. And Wolverine's a vampire now. So honestly, I'm just like, okay, well, the next issue is probably just gonna be a showdown between Wolverine and Maverick, and then Alyssa in a certain extent, because now Maverick is upset because she's like, I was supposed to be the king of the vampires. Now she just made Wolverine the king of the vampires. What is going on here? Either way, guys, I am not sure how I feel about Wolverine being a vampire at all. How do you feel about Wolverine being a vampire? I don't know, guys, but definitely going to be covering the next issue here. Like and subscribe to the channel for more. Also, check out our playlist here where we've been covering all the Blood Hunt stuff, or most of the Blood Hunt stuff here on the channel. And we appreciate you watching, guys. And until next time, thank you so much for kicking it with Keepin' It Comic. All right, take care.